Well, welcome to session 3 of Enemies of the Heart. Again, I'm so excited that you have been faithful to be a part of this group as you've gathered together to have some conversation about your heart. Our heart's worth protecting. It's the source of life. Proverbs chapter 4 tells us that. It says that our heart is something that we have to guard because from it come all the sources of life. And since our heart is valuable and since it's vulnerable, we have to guard it. And we're in this series where we're talking about the enemies of our heart, and we're talking about 4 emotions that can really come against our heart and can cause a lot of devastation if we're not careful. The first one we looked at was guilt, and we looked at how when we feel guilty, what we're saying is that I owe you because I've done something to hurt you, and the way to combat that, the way to fight that enemy, is to confess, is to say, okay, here's what I've done, and to bring that confession. And we spent some time last week talking about that, and hopefully you've been able to practice that and to apply that into your life this week. This week we're going to be looking at anger. Now, of the 4 emotions, anger is the one that is it's the one that everybody probably can associate with the most. And that's probably because you can't hide anger. You can hide guilt, you can hide jealousy, you can hide greed, but you can't hide anger. I mean, if you're angry or if somebody around you's angry, you know it. Everybody knows it. So anger is not something that's easily disguised. Here's the other thing that makes anger so important is anger is very destructive. It can cause an enormous amount of pain. Well, when we allow the emotion of anger to control us, we will say things we don't mean. We'll do things that we would never thought that we would do. We can cause an enormous amount of damage because of our anger. So because of that, anger is something that we've got to get a grip on and an understanding of what it means to control this anger, because it's going to come at us all the time. But here's what anger says. Anger says this. Anger says, you owe me. If guilt says, I owe you because I've done something wrong to you, when I get angry with you, or I get angry in an organization, or I get angry even at myself, or I get angry at God, what I'm saying is I'm saying that you owe me. And because you owe me, this is what's making me angry. Now, the way to fight that, the way to protect my heart against anger is to forgive. And then if I will forgive you, and when someone does something to me, when some organization does something to me, and then I can stop and say, listen, you know what? You don't owe me. I'm going to forgive you for what you're doing. I'm going to forgive you for what you're not doing. Then that will help us deal with anger and help us to have a much better grasp on this emotion. There's some characteristics of anger, and we've talked about that, and those are in the book, and you can spend some time talking about that in your group. But one of the things that I kind of want us to point out is, how do you handle anger? What do you do with it? Are you a suppressor? I mean, because some of us are suppressors. When we feel like somebody owes us something, we don't let the anger boil up. We don't let it come out. We suppress it, and while we may be boiling on the inside, nobody ever knows it. I tend to be a suppressor. I don't get angry very often. When I do, it kind of erupts, and that can be kind of a scary moment. So I know that I have to figure out how to deal with that more on a consistent basis. But I'm more of a stuffer. For some of you, you just let it fly. At the moment you get angry, boom, you know it. Everybody knows it. You let everybody in the room, in the neighborhood, or in the office building know that you're upset. How you handle anger and how you react to it is an important thing to understand about yourself, because obviously flying off the handle in a moment is not the best way to handle it. Stuffing it down, which can have some incredibly damaging aspects to it as well, is not a very healthy way to deal with it either. So the primary way to deal with it is to forgive, is to go along with and to have a forgiving spirit as we go through our life. And so this process of forgiving is important. So it's through a couple of questions that you ask. If I'm going to go through the process of forgiving, the first question is this, well, who am I angry with? Who am I really angry with? Because sometimes you may think that you're angry with a person, but you're not really angry with that person. You're actually angry with yourself. And sometimes you're not really angry with yourself. You're angry at God, or you're angry at your dad, or you're angry at something that happened a long time ago, and you're not just really angry with the person that's in front of you. So taking the time to pull back and say, okay, well, who am I actually angry with? The second part of the process of understanding this is to ask yourself this question. I have to determine what they owe me. If I'm angry with you and it's because you owe me something, then I need to figure out what you owe me. And if I can figure out that you don't really owe me anything, that can help the anger go away, because then I realize that I'm angry and upset about something that doesn't really matter. And then once I understand who I'm angry with and I understand what that person owes me, then I cancel the debt. And then I just say, you know what, I'm going to forgive that person. I'm going to cancel that debt. That person no longer owes me what they owe me. And that can be something big, maybe something that's happened in your life that involved lots and lots of money. Maybe somebody cheated you out of that. It may be just simply your 4-year-old not going to the table when you tell them to go to the table, and you feel like that they owe you that and they owe you that respect. So this can be a big thing. This can be a small thing. But at the heart of it, it's all the same. Who am I angry with? Determine what they owe me, and then I have to cancel the debt, and then I dismiss the case. This fourth one is the really important thing, is to dismiss the case. Now here's the deal. You're going to have to dismiss the case over and over and over and over. I'm not talking about with different anger situations. I'm talking about with the same anger situation. You're going to have somebody that's going to make you angry, and you're going to determine that they owe you something. You're going to determine what they owe you, then you're going to have to forgive them for that, and then you're going to have to dismiss the case. And then you're going to want to take it back, and then you're going to want to take it back, and then you're going to want to take it back. And you can't do that. You have to continue to dismiss the case. There is a highly repetitive nature in this. And so, because it starts to boil up, and then you have to dismiss the case. It's going to start to boil up, and you're going to have to dismiss the case. I'm going to leave you with 3 lies about when it comes to forgiving people that have hurt us, that can cause a lot of anger in our life. There's 3 lies that we'll believe. The first one is this: you must wait until the person shows they've repented. In other words, I've got to wait until the person has shown that they've repented in order for me to forgive them. That is not true. Do not believe that lie, because that is not what Jesus has done for you. He's forgiven you even before you've repented. And so we need to understand, if we're waiting for the person to repent before you to forgive them, then it's about them, it's not about you. Second really popular lie we believe is this, is that forgiving them somehow lessens the value of the victim, or it lessens what they've done. That's not true either. Because you forgive them doesn't lessen what they've done. Your forgiveness speaks to what God has done for us and how He's forgiven us and given us the grace and the ability to do that. Third lie is this: thinking that since forgiveness is a feeling, that you can't really do it until you feel it. Not true. If you wait till you feel like forgiving someone, that day will never happen. Because as long as you're hurt, as long as you're angry, and a lot of times hurt is just a form of anger. It's just kind of more of a depressing anger. If you're waiting for you to feel like it in order to forgive them, that day's not ever going to come. So don't buy into those lies. Just know that if I'm going to deal with anger in my heart, if I'm going to understand, to be able to fight this enemy that comes against me in anger, then I've got to learn. I've got to know that what I'm saying is that you owe me. And that's why I'm mad at you. That's why I'm angry, because you owe me. And in order to get past that, I'm going to have to forgive you. And there's processes that I have to go through. So as you talk about this and you go through your study questions and you talk about the stuff that you've read in the book, and I hope that you continue to have great conversations among your friends as you continue to make friends and add value and learn more about God and how He's wired us. So happy discussing as you talk about anger, and we will see you next week.